So the part that I'm going to cover today is what you have already done in your previous class, right? In class 7. So today we'll just start with the introduction and then we move to the chemical formula writing. So very quickly I'll do the introduction part, considering that you have already studied it in your class 7th. So what is matter? Anything that occupies space and has mass is called as matter. For example, a pen. Pen has a mass. It occupies space. Occupies space means it has a volume. Milk, water, they occupy space. They have mass. Air, it occupies space. It has mass. So all these things which have mass and which occupy space, that are called as matter. However, there are certain things which do not occupy space, which do not have mass. So such things are called are not classified as matter. We call it as non-matter. For example, light coming from a torch. Light is only a form of energy. It is not any particle, there is nothing present in the light. It's just a form of energy. The heat from the fire, the sound from the police siren, these are all different forms of energy, but they're not composed of any matter. Hence, we classify them as non-matter. Similarly, feelings like love, hate, these are again non-matter. Now, if I ask you smell of a perfume, is it matter or non-matter?
Non-matter.
Ma'am, non-matter.
Name matter.
No, it
Ma'am,
is
matter.
matter.
Matter
It is
because it
Matter.
matter.
occupies
Because
space,
Because
if
ma'am.
you're
okay.
able to smell something, if you're able to smell perfume, that's because the perfume particles are present in the air. So perfume particles, so if I'm talking of perfume particles, that means they are occupying some space in the air. They're having certain mass, right? So when I'm talking of smell of a perfume or smell of from an incense stick, that is matter, right? Similarly, if I would have only said smell without saying anything, see, even in that case, smell would always be because if there are some particles which are present. If there are no particles, then that means there is no smell. So therefore, when I'm saying smell of perfume, we are classifying it as matter. Now, matter based on states, it can be solid, liquid, or gaseous matter. Solid matter, if you observe these three figures, you can see the particles are closely packed in solid state. In liquid state, there are little spaces, whereas in gases, they are very far apart. So this is how the molecules or the particles, let me use the term particles at this stage. The particles of solid, liquid and gas are packed. In solid, they are very tightly packed. In liquid, they're a little far away, but again, not very far away. In gas, they are very far away. Because of this kind of packing, they have different properties. Solids are rigid, having fixed shape and fixed volume. Liquid is not rigid. However, it has a fixed volume but no fixed shape. It takes the shape of the container. Gases are again not rigid because again liquids and gases particles are not very tightly packed, so they are not rigid. Gases do not have fixed shape, neither do they have fixed volume. Whatever volume, whatever container you put it in, it will occupy that amount of volume. Now, okay, so these are the basic differences between solid, liquid and gas. Now, matter is made up of extremely small particles which are called as atom. So, if you try to take, say, example, a gold ring, okay, and you try to cut it into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces, the smallest particle that you will get, the smallest particle beyond which you cannot cut it any further, that is called as an atom. So, matter is made up of all the matter that you see around you is made up of atoms. So atom is the smallest part of an element. I'll come to what is an element that may or may not have an independent existence. Like there are atoms of certain elements like helium. The atoms of helium can exist independently. They don't have to combine with any other atom. Whereas oxygen atom cannot exist independently. You would have seen whenever in an equation we write oxygen, we denote it as O2. Do we ever write O? Have you observed this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We always write like this, O2. So O2 exactly, that means that there are two atoms of oxygen which are bonded to each other. That means single atom of oxygen cannot exist independently. It has to combine with another atom. And when atoms combine, they form molecules. A molecule is a particle made up of two or more atoms. Now, these two or more atoms that we're talking about, they can be atoms of the same element, or they can be atoms of different element. So these two or more atoms,
Ma'am, I'm really sorry I joined late because of connection issue.
it's made up of two or more atoms that are chemically bonded together. For example, two hydrogen atoms, when they bond together, they will form H2 molecule. So when I'm talking of single hydrogen atom, I'm just writing H. But when I'm talking about hydrogen molecule, I'm writing H2. Similarly, when I'm talking of oxygen atom, I'm simply writing capital O. But when I'm talking of oxygen molecule, we write it as O2. So this is how we represent a molecule. So when I'm talking of atom, I'm just talking about a single atom. But when I'm talking of molecule, that means there are more than one atoms in chemical
Voice breaking. We cannot hear you.
types.
Ma'am, your voice
For
is
everyone.
It's cracking.
Yes, ma'am,
Yes,
your
ma'am.
voice is cracking.
Yes, ma'am. Your voice is
Ma'am, your
cracking a lot.
screen has also unvisible.
Breaking a lot.
No, ma'am, you're hardly audible. Ma'am, your
Ma'am,
screen
your
Am
is
I
screen
visible,
is
but
audible
you're
not
now?
hardly
visible
audible.
also.
Screen is visible that even I can see. Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am. Now you're
Yes,
Yes,
audible.
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. I think there was some network error. So when I'm talking of atom, I'm talking of like a single atom. But when I'm talking of molecule, that means there are more than one atoms present in a molecule, which are chemically bonded together. Now, if a substance contains just one type of atom, then we call it as an element. For example, if I'm talking of oxygen gas, so oxygen gas will have only oxygen atoms. It will not have hydrogen atoms in it. It will not have sodium atoms in it. It will only have oxygen atoms. Therefore, it will be called as an element. Similarly, if I talk of copper element, it will only have copper atoms. It will not have any other atom. If I talk of gold element, it will only have gold atoms. It will not have iron atoms or calcium atoms or oxygen atoms in it. So when I'm talking of an element, that means it contains just one type of atom. For example, now there are 118 elements like hydrogen, oxygen, sodium, calcium, iron, copper, potassium, magnesium, gold. All these are examples of elements. So we have total 118 elements. Now, these were the elements, but if there are different types of atoms, like when I'm talking of element, I said there is just one type of atom. But if there are more than one type of atoms which are present in a substance, then we call it as a compound. So in a compound, there are atoms of different elements which join together in a chemical reaction to form compounds. For example, water. If I talk about water, what is water? H2O. So H2O means it is having oxygen element as well as it is having hydrogen element. So atoms of both oxygen and hydrogen are present. So there are two elements. So two or more elements, if they're present together in a substance, then we call it as a compound. Salt, common salt is sodium chloride, NaCl. So it has sodium element, it has chlorine element. So therefore two elements, therefore it is a compound. Sugar, sugar is having carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So again, two or more than two elements, then it is a compound. So all these are examples of compounds. Now, as I said, if you break up matter into the into smaller and smaller pieces, the smallest piece that you get is called an atom. Right? So if I start cutting a copper wire into smaller and smaller pieces, the smallest particle that I will get will be a copper atom. Now, if I start breaking sugar crystal into smaller and smaller and smaller particles, what will I get? I want the last particle that I get should also be a sugar particle only.
Glucose.
So therefore, that sugar, no. When I'm talking of sugar particle, that means the last particle, the smallest particle that I obtain after breaking sugar into the smaller and smaller pieces, that should have all the three elements. That means carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, all three should be present. If I break it further into carbon element separate, hydrogen separate, oxygen separate, will it still be called as a sugar particle? No. So to get that last or the smallest sugar particle, it should have all the three elements which are present in sugar. So now if there are three elements, that means if there are atoms from three different kinds of atoms are present in that smallest particle, what will you call that smallest particle as?
A compound.
बेटा कंपाउंड को तो आपने ब्रेक करना शुरू करा, उसका स्मॉलेस्ट पार्टिकल क्या
Ma'am,
होगा?
sugar only.
What is the term for that?
Molecule.
It will be a molecule.
Molecule.
It will be a molecule. So you can say atoms. The smallest particle of an element is an atom, but the smallest particle of a compound is a molecule. Yes. So sugar compound is made up of sugar molecules. Water compound is made up of water molecules. Like I said, a copper element is made up of copper atoms. Similarly, water compound is made up of water molecule. So water is a compound which is made up of two elements, hydrogen and oxygen. The smallest particle of this water compound is water molecule, which is having atoms of hydrogen and oxygen. So when I'm talking of compound, I'm generally speaking, I'm saying it in the terms of elements. But when I'm talking of molecule, I'm talking with respect to atoms. Now, when the elements, someone is unmuted, please mute yourself. When the elements are joined together, Titiksha, why are you unmuted? When the elements are joined, the atoms lose their individual properties and have different properties of the elements when they are composed. So when the elements are joined, the atoms, they lose their individual properties. For example, if I talk of water, hydrogen is inflammable. You know, hydrogen burns with a pop sound. Oxygen is a supporter for burning. Without oxygen, nothing can burn. But water which is formed, hydrogen is used to extinguish of water, it is used to extinguish fire. Therefore, the properties of the elements will change when they are a part of the compound. That is why when I was talking of the smallest particle, I did not say atom, because atom will have a totally different property. If I talk of atoms of like water, hydrogen and oxygen, if I separate the two, it will no longer be called as water. But to call it as the smallest particle of water, it has to be a water molecule where both hydrogen and oxygen are still bonded to each other. Remember that compound is a substance made up of two or more elements chemically joined together. That means compounds will always exist as molecules and not as separate atoms. So if you see this figure, you can see these are the molecules of elements. Hydrogen, H2, is a molecule of hydrogen element. O2 is a molecule of oxygen element. So molecules can be molecules of elements and molecules of compounds, because molecule is simple. Two or more than two atoms to get bonded together is a molecule. Now these two atoms can be same if they are the atoms of the element, or they can be different if they are atoms if it is a molecule of a compound. Like if I talk of water, I have two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen molecule. So I'm having firstly three atoms, 1, 2, 3, like two hydrogen, one oxygen. Secondly, two different atoms. So it is a molecule of a compound. Had they all three been same, it would have been a molecule of an element. Now if you see carbon dioxide, CO2, how many atoms are present? Two oxygen, one carbon, total three atoms. So definitely it is a molecule. Now is it a molecule of an element or a compound? It's a molecule of a compound because there are different elements present. There is carbon element, there is oxygen element. So carbon dioxide is a molecule of a compound. So that is all about elements and compounds. Now another type of substance that you study is a mixture. Now mixture is made up of two or more substances which are mixed together, but they are not chemically joined. They are not chemically bonded. Like when I was talking about compound, I always talk about chemically bonded to each other. They are chemically joined to each other. But when we're talking of mixture, they are not chemically joined. Like for example, a fruit salad. I can cut 5 different types of fruits and serve it on a plate. So what it will be? It will be a mixture of those 5 different fruits. But are those 5 different fruits bonded to each other? No. So it is a mixture. When I mix sugar and salt together, so what will I get? I will get sugar and salt particles both mixed together in a mixture. But are they chemically bonded to each other? No. Mixture of salt and water. If I dissolve salt in water, so salt will take up the spaces in between water particles. But do they chemically react with each other? No. I can extract salt from the salt water by evaporating water. Therefore, it is a mixture. So in mixture, there are again two or more substances present, but they are not chemically bonded. But in a compound, these elements, they are chemically bonded to each other. Coming to chemical symbols. So chemical symbols now, students, whenever you have to write an equation or anything, because you have studied a little bit, so I'm using all these terms. It is not very easy to, every time write hydrochloric acid plus magnesium ribbon gives you this. So to make it easy for us, we use chemical symbols for all the different elements and the compounds. So let's talk about the chemical symbols of elements. So these are the standard short forms, and each element has a chemical symbol. So how were these symbols chosen? Now the symbol of the element can consist of either one letter or two letters. You will never have any chemical symbol with more than two letters. Either it can be just one or it can be two. Secondly, some elements are represented by the first letter of their English names. For example, hydrogen. This is the English name. So how do we represent hydrogen? By H. Always remember, students, that the first letter of the symbol is always written as a capital letter. Come to the 1, 2, 3, fourth point. The first letter of a symbol is always written with a capital letter. while the second letter is always and always written in the lower case, right? The first letter is always in uppercase, capital, and the second letter is always as a small letter or in the lower case. So if the element, so some certain elements we represent by the first letter of their English names, like hydrogen starts with H, so capital H. Carbon starts with C, so capital C, and so on and so forth. Oxygen starts with O, so we have capital O. But if you see the chemical, if you see the elements, there are certain elements which start with the same letter, like copper, you know, copper starts with C. Carbon also starts with C. Calcium also starts with C. Chlorine also starts with C. So if we start all of them naming as just with capital C, it will be a confusion which one we are talking about. So in such cases, we go in for another letter. Now, when we go in for another letter, now there will be two letters. Now, this second letter can be the second letter of the name, or it can be any other letter. It is not necessary that it has to be the second letter only. For example, calcium is represented as first two letters, that is Ca. Remember, first letter will always be capital and second letter will always be small. Chlorine, capital C, first letter, and the second letter is L, which is the third letter here. So Cl. Copper is represented as Cu. I'll come to this, how Cu, while cobalt is represented as capital C and small o. So you should always understand, if there is one capital and one small letter written together, it means it is a chemical symbol of one particular element. Now, for example, if I write, just a second, okay. So I can, there are two ways of writing CO. One is this and the other is this. Tell me, what is the difference between the two? Can anyone tell me? I have written CO in two different forms.
One is in
Can I
capital
tell?
and one is
Carbon dioxide.
The first person who
one is
said, can you all be quiet? The first person who said, ma'am, can I tell, that child should speak, that boy.
Ma'am, shall
Yeah.
I say? Ma'am, I'm Arnav.
Yeah, what's your name?
Ma'am, Arnav.
Yes, Arnav.
Ma'am, the first one is cobalt and the second one is carbon and oxygen.
Yes, very good. So if you see here, first letter is capital, second letter is small. So definitely it is a symbol of an element, right? Now in the second, if you see, one is first is capital, second is also capital. That means there are two elements present in it, which are carbon and oxygen, right? So when I'm saying C, capital C, small o, I'm talking of a symbol of an element, and which is this element? Cobalt. But when I'm talking of capital C and capital O, that means there are two different elements. So you should understand, if there's a capital letter and a small letter, it is just one particular element. Is it clear? Next.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, so this is how the symbols were chosen. Now, as I told you in the second point, that there were certain symbols which were represented by their English names, but then there were certain other symbols which were represented by the Latin names. For example, just now copper, which I spoke about, copper was
Sodium,
Cu.
natrium.
So copper is the English name, but its Latin name is cuprum, and from cuprum we are getting its symbol capital C and small u. Similarly, sodium, its Latin name is natrium. So from there we are getting its symbol capital N and small a. Potassium, its Latin name is kalium. So from there we are getting its symbol capital K. This is how we are representing the symbols of elements. So here is a table. This table is giving you 1 to 20 elements with their names and their symbols. This has to be learned by you, and even valency is given, which also needs to be learnt. This table is very, very important. Please take a screenshot of this and keep it with you. You have to learn this table. When we meet tomorrow, I'm going to ask anyone randomly to tell me this table. I can give you any number, and you are supposed to tell me what is the name of the element with that number. So this table should be learnt by tomorrow by everyone if you haven't done it so far.
Now, do you have to write this?
Sorry?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah, excuse.
Ma'am, your screen is not visible. Your screen is not visible.
Ma'am, your screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am, from a
It
long
is
time.
visible. It is visible. I can see. I can myself see
Ma'am,
the
it is
screen.
visible on my phone, not on my PC.
Ma'am, in my PC it is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Then
I'm
you need
also
to
using
refresh
PC.
your screen if it is not visible, because students are able to see. And
Yes,
students, I want you to draw this table also in your notebook.
okay,
Okay?
Ma'am, it's there in the worksheet. We can write it from there also, right?
Yeah, you can write. Next is calculation of atoms and molecules. Now you would have seen in the chemical formula, like let's take this first chemical formula that you see here of glucose. Can you see C6H12O6? This is the molecular formula of glucose. Now, if you see, there are elements written first, C, H, O. These are the names of the elements whose atoms are present. Next to these atoms are written certain numbers, which are written as the subscript. Subscript means a number which is written below. That is called as a subscript, and the number which is written above, that is called as the superscript. Right? So if you see, there are certain numbers which are following each symbol, and these numbers are written as subscripts. So these numbers which are written, these represent the number of atoms of that particular element.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, can you please show the previous slide because I was not able to take the
You
screenshot.
can see it later, child. You let others proceed. You were not able to take, but you want to stop 70 other students for that. You can see it later. Once the class is over, I'll open it for you. But right now, please let others also go ahead. And please don't interrupt while I am speaking for these kind of issues. So these numbers which are written as subscripts, they represent the number of atoms of each element. For example, next to C, it's written 6. C represents carbon. So that means there are 6 atoms of carbon in the glucose molecule. Next to H, it's written 12. H represents hydrogen. So how many atoms of hydrogen? 12 atoms of hydrogen. Next to O, 6 is written. So O represents oxygen. And how many atoms of oxygen? 6. So there are 6 atoms of carbon, 12 atoms of hydrogen, and 6 atoms of oxygen in one molecule of glucose. It's in one molecule of glucose. So total, how many atoms are present in glucose? 6 plus 12, 18 plus 6,
24, ma'am.
So total 24 atoms are present in one molecule of glucose.
Ma'am, I have a
Now,
doubt.
can I please take it up later?
Hmm.
If I talk of water, was it Bhavya?
Yes, ma'am.
Bhavya, I think in every class I tell you the same thing. When next we come to water, H2O. So H represents hydrogen element. Next number to it is 2. That means 2 atoms of hydrogen. After that, we see another element, that is oxygen, but there is no number written next to it. If there is no number written, that means it is 1. Right? So we generally do not write 1. If nothing is written, it's understood it is 1. So that means one water molecule has 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. So total 2 plus 1, 3 atoms in one molecule of water. So this next point I have already explained it to you. Then sometimes you will see that in front of the molecule a number is written in front of the molecule. So this is the coefficient of the molecule which tells you how many molecules are present. Like if you see in the previous case, I was talking about one molecule of glucose, one molecule of water, but in this case, if you see it's written 2H2O, that means there are two molecules of water. So the number which is written in front of the molecule, that represents the number of molecules. Now, if you are asked a question, what are the total number of atoms present in two molecules of water? So you calculated that in one molecule there are 2 plus 1, 3 atoms which are present. So if there is a number, the coefficient in front of it, you simply multiply that number with the number of atoms in one molecule. For example, we know molecular formula of water is H2O, but I have taken here 2H2O. So I have represented the 2 which is in front of water molecule with the blue color and the one which is written as a subscript as green color. So this smaller 2 which is written as a subscript represents the number of hydrogen atoms. So there are 2 hydrogen atoms, 1 oxygen atom in one molecule of water. So total 3 atoms. Now you have to find the number of molecules in 2H2O. That means you multiply 3 by this number 2, which is the coefficient of the molecule. So 2 into 3, that is equal to 6. Total 6 atoms are present in 2 molecules of water. Now can anyone tell me how many atoms of hydrogen are present in 2 molecules of water?
4.
4. 2 are present in one molecule. So 2 into 2, 4. How many atoms of oxygen in 2 water molecules? 2 into 1, 2. So this number which is written in front is to be multiplied, not to be added. It is to be multiplied, right? This is how you calculate the number of atoms in a molecule, whatever number of molecules are given to you. Students, whatever I've taught to you now, you had done this in class 7th, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Everything, na?
Ma'am, can you please, but ma'am, we have done it, but can you please explain how to balance the equation actually? I was not able to understand it.
Adrija, have I reached on balancing equations?
Ma'am, actually what you did in the previous slide, the very recent slide that you have shifted was in the PPT that you had sent to us was termed as balancing actually. So
No, dear. Please, Adrija, please open it once again and see it. It was not termed as balancing. It was termed as the same thing which I have written here, calculation of atoms and molecules. And when the homework was given to you, I only asked you to do till chemical formula. So please, you need to check at your end first. Coming to the structure of atom. So now I'm going fast because I've already spent half an hour in discussing what is actually not coming, what is supposed to come in the exam formula, which is that I've not even reached that topic. So I want to discuss this quickly. So structure of atom, right? Now, please mute yourself.
एक मैंने खा लिया, कानू मैंने खा लिया.
Anuttam, mute yourself.
मैंने 3 टोस्ट खा लिए थे ना.
Ma'am, it's Karthik.
Next time it happens, I'm going to do this for others as well.
I did not do anything.
Okay, sorry, Anuttam, it was Karthik. I'm sorry, I took your name. Because I felt the voice was similar, that's why. So coming to atom. Now we discussed that atom is the smallest particle, right? But if we see the ultrastructure of the atom, it is still composed of smaller particles. So the smaller, these smaller particles, because they are smaller than the atom, so we call them as the subatomic particles, right? Because they are smaller than the atom. And these particles are named as electron, proton, and neutron. These are the subatomic particles, or the three elementary particles which make up an atom. So now these particles have different nature and their location is also different. The center of an atom is called as the nucleus of the atom. Like in the center of the cell, animal cell, we have the nucleus, right? Similarly, the center of an atom is called as the nucleus. But this nucleus only has two of the elementary particles, which are proton and neutron. So nucleus is made up of protons and neutrons. Around this nucleus, in certain orbits like Earth and other planets revolve around the sun. Similarly, around the nucleus in the specific orbits, these electrons also revolve. So electrons are not present in the nucleus, but they are present in the electron orbits around the nucleus. So you can imagine nucleus here as the sun, which is made up of protons and neutrons, and the electrons are revolving around it in definite or specific orbits. And these orbits are called as shells, S-H-E-L-L-S, shells. So electronic shells or electronic orbits mean the same thing. Other than their location, there's a difference in their charges. Protons are positively charged. They carry a charge of +1. Neutron is neutral, that means no charge, so 0 charge. Electron is -1. Electron is negatively charged and one electron has a charge of -1. If you see the mass, protons, now AMU refers to atomic mass unit. It is the unit to measure the mass of atom. AMU is atomic mass unit. So mass of proton is 1 AMU. Neutron is also 1 AMU. But electron's mass is so less that it is almost negligible. So we have written it as 0. So the main thing that you need to remember here is the location and the charge that they carry. Proton +1 charge, neutron 0, electron -1. How we represent them? Proton by small p, neutron by small n, electron by small e. Okay, so these last two slides we'll do and then we wind up. Now, how are these electrons arranged? So nothing we have to talk about arrangement of protons and neutrons because they are present in the nucleus. Now, if you see it's written here positively charged nucleus. Why positively charged nucleus? Because nucleus has protons and neutrons, of which one carries a charge, proton or neutron?
Proton.
Ma'am,
And what
proton.
is the charge on proton?
Proton.
Positive or
Plus.
negative?
Positive.
So,
Positive.
and
Positive one.
neutrons don't have a charge. So what is the net charge? It is positive. So nucleus is therefore positively charged. And electrons are revolving in these imaginary orbits which are called as electronic shells. Now these shells are given numbers. So we start numbering them from the nucleus and we start moving outwards. So the first shell will be shell number 1. Then next will be shell number 2. Then shell 3, shell 4. So shell 1 will be closest to the nucleus. The other way of numbering these shells are by using these letters K, L, M, and K, L, M, N, and so on and so forth. So this is how we number the shells. So K shell is the first shell. L shell is the second shell. M shell is the third shell. N shell is the fourth shell, and this is how it will proceed ahead. So this is how the numbering of the shells is done. Now each electronic shell, right? Each shell can only have a fixed number of electrons. It is not that you can keep on filling any number of electrons there. So it can accommodate only a fixed number of electrons, which is given by the formula 2n square, where n represents the shell number. For example, shell number 1. What will be what will be the number of electrons that can be present in shell number 1? 2 into 1 square, that is equal to what? Have you done squares, students? Squares and cubes, have you studied?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So if it is K shell has it's the shell number 1. So 2 into 1 square is 2. So maximum it can have 2 electrons. It can have 1 electron also, but maximum it can have only 2 electrons. N is 2. So 2 into 2 square, that is 8. M is shell number 3. 2 into 3 square, 9 into 2, 18. N is 4. 2 into 4 square, 32. So these are the maximum number of electrons that can be present in these shells, right? So atoms are neutral in character. So atoms are actually neutral species. Why neutral species? Because in an atom, the number of electrons is equal to number of protons. And you know that in an atom, the charge is only due to protons and electrons. Neutrons so don't have any charge, so we don't consider them. The charge is only due to protons and electrons. So in an atom, the number of protons is equal to number of electrons. So the two charges will cancel out, and what will be the ultimate charge? It will be 0. So atoms do not have any electric charge, and therefore they are considered neutral in character. So in an atom, so every element, the atoms have got their atomic number. What is this atomic number? It is the number of electrons or number of protons in an atom. So in an atom, what is the number of electrons? We know number of electrons is equal to number of protons, and that gives us the atomic number. For example, oxygen. Oxygen has how many electrons? 8 electrons. So what is the atomic number of oxygen? It is 8. Or I can say vice versa. The atomic number of oxygen is 8. Therefore, the number of electrons in oxygen is also 8. Now, how will you start filling the shells? First, always the innermost shell is filled. You always go in this order. Never will you go in the reverse order like from N, M, L, K. You will always go in the forward order like K, L, M, and N. So first the K shell will be filled. It has total 8 electrons. K shell can accommodate how many electrons?
2.
So 2 will go in the K shell. How many are remaining now?
6.
6 are remaining. So can those 6, all of them go in L shell?
Yes,
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes,
L
ma'am.
can accommodate
Because the
maximum
maximum
8.
capacity is 8.
Yes, its maximum capacity is 8. So it can accommodate all the 6 electrons. So therefore the electronic configuration, so this is called as what you see as here written as 2, 6. This represents the electronic configuration. So first 2 is representing the first shell, which is a K shell, and 6 is representing the L shell. So it is understood. 2 for K shell, 6 for the L shell. Now if you come to chlorine, chlorine has atomic number 17. So how many electrons will be present in chlorine? Chlorine has 17 atomic number. How many electrons will be present in chlorine?
17.
17. Atomic number of electrons is equal to atomic number. So how will the shell start filling? First, the K shell will be filled. So how many electrons will go in the K shell?
2.
2. So out of 17, 2 have gone in the K shell. How many are remaining?
15.
15. Now, can all those 15 go in the L shell?
No. No. Will go.
Its maximum capacity is 8.
8.
So let us
8.
send 8 electrons in the L shell. So now how many are remaining?
7.
7.
We
7.
had 15. Out of 15, we have given 8 to L shell. Now we are remaining with 7.
7.
Can all those 7 be sent to M shell?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, because its maximum capacity is
It's 18.
18. So what is the electronic configuration? 2, 8, 7.
7.
Similarly, sodium. Sodium has an atomic number of 11. So what are the number of electrons in sodium?
11.
11.
11. So how many electrons will go in the K shell? First, the K shell will be filled. How
2.
many electrons?
2.
9 are remaining. Can all those 9 go in L?
9.
No, ma'am.
No.
No,
So
ma'am.
we'll
Just
only
L
give
will just
8.
have
Ma'am,
8.
one will go in
But
M1.
one will M.
1 will go in M shell.
M
Very
shell.
good, Adricha. So it will be 2, 8 and 1. Now your homework for today is that you have to learn all these 20 elements. Atomic number is given to you. You will write down the electronic configuration till number 18. You will not write for 19 and 20. You will write electronic configuration till atomic number 18. Tomorrow, first thing that I want is this to be done, to be shown to me. Is it clear?
The notebook.
Yes, ma'am.
In the fair notebook, yes. In the fair notebook. You will write the electronic configuration till atomic number 18. Right? So that's all for today's class. Thank you so much, students.